guys? I am Shane Davis, 20-year comic book veteran, great big old comic book artist, worked for Marvel Comics, worked for DC Comics, and today we are talking more about the shakeup at Marvel Comics and Disney Studios, with one of the people being kind of pushed out, and that's Ike Perlmutter. Now, interesting enough, for people that don't know, Ike Perlmutter was past tense the owner of Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics, for people that don't know, was bought up by Disney in 2009 for the sum of $4 billion.
They obviously made a big fat return on investment because from what I know, all the MCU movies so far made a combined $23 billion. That's almost like a 6 times ROI on that stuff. What is happening now, though, is that for some reason, I guess recently things haven't been looking great for Disney. They're engaging in cost cutting. And one of the things they're doing in cost cutting is to get rid of Ike Perlmutter. Ike Perlmutter, who had a basically kind of like an honorary position running Marvel after he was bought, and decided to just get rid of him. So, what is he saying though? What does he think is the reason exactly for why Disney's getting rid of him? He calls it that because they're trying to do cost cutting, it's a convenient excuse to get rid of a long-term executive who dared to challenge the company's way of doing business. So, what are the ways of doing business that Ike here is mentioning that he's trying to challenge Disney at, and Disney somehow saying, no thanks, Ike? Well, the first thing he actually said was, he gave advice to Disney executives, telling them, don't get involved in politics. You're going to get hurt. It's a no-win situation. And apparently he also talked to Ron DeSantis about this and saying, yeah, you're right. Disney doesn't have the right to get involved in politics. So he's basically telling the governor of Florida, okay, don't punish us. We shouldn't be involved in politics. And telling Disney at the same time, yeah, you guys shouldn't be involved in politics.
Okay, so this doesn't make a lot of sense to me for a few reasons. One, Ike was one of the major donors for the Trump campaign. One of the few pictures that had shown up of Ike Perlmutter for years, we only had like a photo from him in like a business magazine going back into like the 90s or 80s, was him showing up on stage shaking Donald Trump's hand. He was also there for some bill also on the news when Trump was signing something. I can't remember what bill it was. So that doesn't make a lot of sense because obviously Ike got involved with politics, period, back in 2016.
Yes, but see, there's a difference because here he's donating to someone who's running. The difference is that Disney actually got really involved in that whole "don't say gay" thing, trying to frame the bill about saying that no, we don't want to teach you about gender identity and all that. Before a certain age, they frame it as a "don't say gay" bill, and I guess that is when you actually get directly involved with the politics of the state you're in, and I think that's the issue that Ike has with what Disney's trying to do.
Right, because the theme parks are set up in said states, yeah. But again, like he still got involved in politics. There's a little bit of hypocrisy there, and I'm not going to get in the weeds on it, but there is hypocrisy there.
All right, so the other reason why he thinks he was fired by Disney is because he says that although Disney's Marvel films have grossed more than $23 billion globally, he urged increased focus on profitability. All they talk about is box office. I care about the bottom line. I don't care how big the box office is. Only people in Hollywood talk about box office. So you can have a movie that made $1 billion, but if it costs you $1 billion to make it, essentially profitability is zero. People talk about having an ROI, which is return on investment. So you want to spend the least amount of money possible to get the biggest return possible. And that's what Ike Perlmutter is really trying to get Disney to go for. And it looks like Disney just want to say, oh, look at us. We have an $1 billion box office. Hooray.
Now, the reason that this is an issue and reason why I wanted to do this video, and a lot of people maybe won't know how to navigate this topic, is this is how this man's ran Marvel Comics ever since he acquired it for the action figures, basically when he was a toy company and he bought Marvel Comics and dealt with the whole bankruptcy era and all of that. Ike has always ran Marvel Comics with the lowest amount of money with the highest profits. I'm talking just the comics, the toys, whatever. Famous story in the industry, Bob Harris wanted to buy a coffee machine for the employees of Marvel Comics. So the editors didn't need to leave the building to get a cup of coffee, that they would be able to do more work by staying inside the building. And it's coffee, maybe they'll be more productive at work. And he had a phone call from Ike Perlmutter yelling at him for spending money on the coffee machine. And even though he explained it to him on the phone, his reasons for doing it, he still said, no, we're not buying that coffee machine. Ike Perlmutter, tons of stories about editors at Marvel Comics not having stationery or having to bring stationery from home. You know, he ran with the littlest resources for editorial to manage. DC Comics normally would pay their artists more than Marvel. And across the board, not just page rates, but like equity deals. Creators were always paid more for their characters being used in media and film at DC Comics than they ever were at Marvel Comics. You know, Lin Wein historically made a lot more money off of Lucius Fox at DC Comics in the Nolan Batman films played by Morgan Freeman than he ever did Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. That's just the way these two companies work. Why that's an issue now, since before even Disney bought it, Disney buys it. Ike's been there for about 14 years up under Disney banner, and he's been running the ship the same way. Why is this an issue now? I find this a bullshit excuse to fire him. I don't know
Well,
the reason they got rid of Ike, but that he's absolutely been doing this for about 14 years up under Disney.
I feel the issue may be that they think that he's trying to gain some kind of power. So what Ike is actually trying to do is he's trying to bring in this CEO guy called Nelson Peltz, who has a long history of improving shareholder returns at many leading consumer businesses. So he wants to bring in a guy to essentially be the cost cutter, someone to look into all these profitability issues. And I guess maybe Disney doesn't like the idea of someone coming in, messing with their books, telling them how to run stuff anymore. And they're like, God, this guy is trying to make waves. Let's just get rid of him. Here's a picture of him shaking hands with Trump. I guess that's definitely a good
Now's the
reason.
time to pull that up to get rid of him, right? Like, even
Mm.
though like that's been there this whole time, they're going to use that now to try to justify the firing. A lot of this is weird, and I don't even know what is in store for Marvel in general, whether it's the MCU or just the comic book division going forward, because it really seems like there's big changes coming, and we're not supposed to know what they are. Because a lot of the reasons that Ike was let go don't hold water, to be honest. Like the excuses here, like whether it's like politics or whether it's like the way he ran the company, these things have been sitting idle since like either 2016 or 2009. So like Ike's done, both of these excuses are BS, in my opinion. What's interesting here to me also, and this is off on a tangent, is there's two major properties that Marvel Entertainment had acquired that were chasing a young male demographic, one being Star Wars, one being the MCU. Now, obviously, I feel like they've had a hell of a lot more success with the Marvel stuff than they have the Star Wars stuff. If you really look at it as a whole, at these two wholes and these two properties put together over this timeline. And they both were kind of bought, I think Marvel first, then Star Wars, but they've both been, around. What's interesting though, why would you alter the MCU stuff? Now, the MCU stuff's going down, but there's obviously drastic changes happening, but it's still more successful than the Star Wars franchise, and it's more merchandisable. The movies, they're able to generate these movies and still make a fair amount of income. Obviously it's going down, but it's going down at a less accelerated rate as say like Mandalorian viewership and stuff like that right now. So
I
I
feel
don't
that
know.
this is basically a double whammy. It's an opportunity to say, yeah, probably Ike is being paid too much. Let's get rid of him. By the way, it's also a great time to get rid of him because a certain former president is being indicted. So, hey, who knows?
Yeah, yeah. So only time will really tell between what Marvel plan or Disney plans to do with Marvel, what their next big steps are, why a lot of these changes are occurring, and even really we still don't even know like what the full magnitude of these changes are actually going to be, especially on the American comic book industry. But if you guys will, please look down below, hit like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Also need to remind you guys, Inglorious Rex $231,172. This campaign is coming down this month. So please go over here, check this campaign out. We have 20 days left. 2,232 backers. Look at that. We have some great stuff over here. We have an all-in tier. We have a site exclusive cover that you can get from ninelinecomics.com, or you can go back at Indiegogo. If you love Rocky, if you love Godzilla, you're absolutely going to love Inglorious Rex as we follow our main protagonist, Alex Stone, as he steps in the world of Rex fighting, piloting a giant kaiju monster 232, his late brother's kaiju. as his neural system is laced up with it, he will get one step closer with every punch he throws to the truth about his brother's demise. This is a sci-fi mystery action adventure. I hope you guys check it out. I'm sure you'll love it. If you guys will, click the link below and just give the campaign a look, and we will catch you guys again with another video. Take care.
Let out the beast. Let him out.